It seems everyone is talking about the Teamsters striking against Amazon.
Right before Christmas, too.
Yeah, what a time to do it.
Could really impact those holiday deliveries.
So what are the big issues here?
Well, the Teamsters say they speak for about 10,000 Amazon workers.
And how many facilities?
10 in the U.S.
Okay, so not an insignificant number.
Right. And their argument is that Amazon just won't negotiate
On what exactly?
contracts for better wages, benefits, working conditions, that sort of thing.
But I thought Amazon said the Teamsters don't actually represent those workers.
That's right. Amazon doesn't officially recognize them as a bargaining unit.
So how did this strike even happen then?
Well, the Teamsters set a deadline,
When was that?
December 15th,
For Amazon to do what?
to come to the table and talk about these contracts.
But they didn't.
That's what the Teamsters are saying, which is why they went on strike.
Some pretty harsh words from the union about all this.
The president of the Teamsters straight up blamed Amazon's insatiable greed. They're also putting out worker stories, testimonials and such.
What are those about?
Basically, these workers are saying they can't even afford basic needs.
And these are people working for, what, the richest company in the world?
Pretty much.
So how are the Teamsters actually making their presence felt?
Picket lines all across the country.
At Amazon facilities.
Yeah, fulfillment centers mostly.
And they're encouraging others to join.
Anyone working for Amazon, even if they're not in the union.
What's Amazon saying about all this?
They're denying it all, of course. They say the Teamsters are misleading the public, that they're using illegal tactics to get people to join.
Like what?
Coercion, intimidation, that kind of thing.
Trying to discredit the union then.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the demands for joint pay and benefits?
Amazon's line is that they already offer competitive packages.
They point to that $22 starting wage, right?
Yep. And immediate health coverage, 401k matching.
They're basically saying they're already a good employer.
That's their argument.
And I'm guessing they're downplaying any impact from this strike.
Totally. They say they don't anticipate any operational disruptions at all.
We'll see if that holds true, especially with Christmas coming up.
It's a busy time for them, that's for sure.
So basically we have two totally opposite stories here.
Absolutely. The Teamsters saying one thing, Amazon saying the complete opposite.
Makes it tough to figure out what's really going on.
There are some key points we need to look at to untangle all this.
Like what?
Well, first off, is the Teamsters representation even legitimate?
Do they really speak for these workers?
Right. And why is Amazon fighting this so hard?
But then there's the question of how workers are actually being treated.
The Teamsters say they're struggling. Amazon says they're well taken care of.
Someone's not telling the whole truth.
Exactly. We need to dig deeper into that.
Plus, there's the issue of just how powerful Amazon is in all this.
Can the Teamsters even put up a real fight against a giant like that?
It's a David and Goliath situation for sure.
And we can't forget the consumers in all this.
Especially with Christmas right around the corner.
Will this strike mean people don't get their presents on time?
Could be a PR nightmare for Amazon if that happens.
Definitely a lot at stake here for everyone involved. Let's look closer at that union recognition question.
Where did the Teamsters actually have a foothold?
Well, they claim a good number of members work at Amazon.
Including that Staten Island warehouse, right?
Yeah, that was the first one to unionize. Big symbolic win for the Teamsters.
But Amazon's been fighting back against unions all over.
Oh, absolutely. They're appealing rulings saying there were procedural problems.
And I've heard they're pretty aggressive about stopping unions from forming in the first place.
Lots of allegations out there. Workers saying they were intimidated for supporting the union.
Seriously?
Yeah, some even say Amazon forced them to go to anti-union meetings.
Those captive audience things.
Exactly. Pretty controversial tactic.
Didn't the government get involved in some of this?
The National Labor Relations Board, yeah, they found some of those allegations against Amazon credible.
That's not a good look for Amazon.
Definitely raises questions about their respect for workers' right to organize.
So the big question is, do the Teamsters truly represent a big chunk of Amazon's workforce?
And if they do, is Amazon legally, morally obligated to deal with them?
That's the core of this whole fight.
No doubt about it.
Okay, let's shift gears to how workers are treated.
The Teamsters are really hitting hard on the financial struggles these people face.
They're saying Amazon workers can't even make ends meet.
That's their argument, that the cost of living's going up, wages aren't keeping pace.
So Amazon's pay and benefits aren't enough to live on.
According to the Teamsters, no.
I guess they have those worker stories to back that up.
And economic data, too.
But Amazon says that's all wrong.
Of course they do. They say they offer competitive pay and benefits better than most.
They love to point out that $22 starting wage.
Right. Plus health insurance from day one, 401k matching.
They're painting themselves as a model employer.
That's the spin.
So who's telling the truth here?
It's complicated. Depends on where these workers live, the cost of living there.
You got to factor in how physically demanding those warehouse jobs are.
And what other jobs are available in those areas?
It'd be helpful to see data on stuff like turnover, injuries, how satisfied the bunkers are.
At the end of the day, it comes down to what we consider fair treatment.
Now, there's no denying that Amazon has a ton of power in this situation.
They've got practically unlimited resources. They can operate anywhere in the world.
Can the Teamsters even make a dent in that?
It's tough. They're relying on the strength of their members.
But they can't match Amazon dollar for dollar.
Not even close.
Makes you wonder if the old tactics still work against companies like this.
Strikes, boycotts, do those even faze a giant like Amazon?
It's a question facing labor movements everywhere these days.
This isn't just about Amazon and the Teamsters. It's about the future of worker power.
And we can't ignore the impact this is all having on consumers.
Especially now, with Christmas just days away.
Talk about bad timing.
Could be a real mess for deliveries.
People might not get their gifts on time.
Amazon's reputation could take a big hit.
Though they say they've got backup plans.
We'll have to see how well those work.
Depends how long the strike goes on, how many workers join in.
If Amazon can keep things running smoothly, that'll be key.
This whole thing could really turn public opinion against them, though.
Or against the Teamsters, it cuts both ways.
If people are unhappy about delays, they might blame everyone involved.
But if the Teamsters get their message out, make people sympathize with the workers,
That could force Amazon to give in.
it's a public relations battle as much as anything else.
It feels like this whole situation is a turning point.
Definitely. Labor versus big business in the digital age.
Raises some huge questions.
Workers' rights, what responsibility these companies have, what role the government should play.
The outcome here matters for everyone.
Workers, consumers could set a precedent for the whole tech industry, even beyond that.
It's like a microcosm of what's happening across America.
That gap between the rich and everyone else is just getting wider.
The middle class is shrinking. Unions have lost so much power.
For decades now, it's been all about profits, shareholders first.
Globalization, automation, manufacturing jobs disappearing.
All of that has made it so much harder for unions to fight back.
Feels like the Teamsters are trying to change that, taking on Amazon.
Talk about David versus Goliath.
No one knows how it'll turn out.
They're testing those old tactics. Can they still work against a company this big?
Strikes, boycotts, are those effective anymore?
The Teamsters are betting that public pressure can make Amazon budge.
That consumers will care enough to make a difference.
But Amazon seems determined to hold the line, keep unions out.
Thousands of livelihoods at stake, the future of organized labor.
High stakes game for sure.
This whole thing really highlights what unions have done, though.
Protecting workers, fighting for fairness.
Better wages, safer jobs, the power to negotiate as a group.
They've made life better for so many Americans.
Helped create a more level playing field.
But union membership has gone way down. That's not a coincidence.
Income inequality is soaring. The middle class is struggling.
The Teamsters want to turn that tide.
Make unions powerful again.
Taking on Amazon, that's a bold move.
Could reshape the future of work in this country.
They're saying Amazon's whole business model is flawed.
That it relies on squeezing every last drop out of its workers.
A living wage, affordable health care, safe conditions, that's what they want.
And for Amazon to recognize the union, bargain in good faith.
Amazon says that's nonsense. They already treat their workers well.
Unions would only make things worse, hurt innovation.
So the public is stuck in the middle, two sides telling completely different stories.
Who do you believe?
It's important to look at the facts, weigh the arguments from both sides.
Whatever happens here will have ripple effects, could impact other industries.
The balance of power between companies and workers is at stake.
This is a moment that could define the next decade, maybe even longer.
This strike also makes you think about the role technology is playing.
Amazon's all about automation, AI, changing how work gets done.
In the warehouses, for deliveries, everything.
Some people are worried about losing their jobs.
The Teamsters want to make sure workers aren't left behind.
Investing in training, education so people can adapt.
And pushing for government regulations, making sure technology benefits everyone.
Not just the corporations at the top.
The point is, progress shouldn't come at the expense of workers.
We need an economy where everyone gets a fair shot.
Where workers have a say, where they share in the success.
This strike against Amazon, it's complicated. There's so many layers.
It's a test of whether unions can still make a difference.
It's a challenge to the power these huge corporations have.
At its heart, it's about demanding a fairer system.
This story's still being written. We don't know what the ending will be.
But one thing's for sure, it'll have a lasting impact on how companies treat their workers.
The Teamsters want to set an example for everyone else out there. there.
Those who are struggling, who feel like they don't have a voice.
They're showing that collective action can work.
That when workers stand together, they can demand better.
It's a test for Amazon, too.
Will they put people before profit?
Will they realize that treating workers fairly is good for business in the long run?
This could ripple outward, change how other industries operate.
It's a battle for the soul of the American workplace.
Who has the power, corporations or the people who work for them?
This strike is a defining moment, no doubt about it.
The future is being decided right now. We need to pay attention.
This is just the beginning. We'll keep following this story as it unfolds.
Lots more to discuss, but for now, that's it for our look at this crucial moment in the fight for workers' rights in the age of Amazon.
Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.